we're about to have another referendum soon as well, that's another sensitive subject. There's a lot of things here you can't fucking talk about, by the way, unless you want to get into a fight. But the referendum is another vote about whether or not we're going to be an independent country.
Oh, where do you stand on that? Because that's a weird one. With Brexit, I think that there was a lot of buyer shock. When they saw what they had actually voted for. Yeah, I don't know much about it. Obviously, I'm on the other side of the fucking Atlantic. But it seems like there was a lot of buyer shock afterwards. Like, oh no, we fucked up.
There was a specific reason for that. It wasn't so much like we fucked up. We knew there would be teething problems. Like, you don't just cause like this upheaval and then expect everything's going to go smoothly and perfectly. Like there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. But the problem is the EU were not playing ball with us when it came to like trade and like rules and everything like that. And then they basically, like, we were going, EU, you're supposed to do this. Can you do this, please? The EU was going, no. And then it was fucking us up. But then everyone's like, look what Brexit did. And they were like, it's them. They did it. And speaking of the IRA, again, now, this is a little funny thing, and like the EU is trying to fuck us up with this, but they've no fucking idea the problems this would cause. Basically, the reason that the IRA are still there, they're still out there, but they don't do much anymore. But they're watching and waiting, and that's because of the Good Friday Agreement, right? Basically, the British government and the IRA sat down together and made like this final peace deal. We'll stop the bombing, stop the attacks, stop the war, and everything will be fine. And there was a few stipulations, like, for example, release every single IRA prisoner and all that, which I believe was granted. Not all. They got most, but not all. But then there was also no hard border in Northern Ireland, right? So the Irish could come and go as they pleased in Northern Ireland. Anyone could come in, anyone could come out. Now, because Britain has now left the European Union, the EU are now saying there must now be a hard border in Northern Ireland. The problem is the EU are saying you must now do that. That violates the Good Friday Agreement, which means that the contract has been broken and the IRA would come back.
So they have to think very carefully about how they handle that.
So it's like, the thing is, the EU, everyone in Europe who does not fucking understand the situation is going, but there must be a hard border, and everyone in Britain and even everyone in Ireland is going, no, do not fucking do that. And everyone's like, see, anyone who like lived through the 80s and 90s and like remembers just hearing about like daily bombings and all that shit, like nobody wants to return to that, but the EU are just, it's almost like they're trying to do it on purpose, because they're like, you wanted to leave, so I'm just going to like reawaken a terrorist group to fucking bomb you. At least you can fish in your own water. Man, like fucking So that's really dodgy.
I don't know any of this stuff at all. Do you guys? What do you got?
I do remember. I'm old enough to remember the bombings, and it made the news all the time. That was back before you chose your own news. You just watched what was on TV.
Yeah,
and there was always like some bar or some restaurant or whatever. There were just car bombings, bombing. Molotov cocktails were like a big thing.
Yeah.
I think you misunderstood. I knew about the IRA. I was meaning I didn't know about that border. Like, I didn't know it would matter that much, that like having a hard border would like.
I didn't know about that detail.
Like, well, okay, we're turning back on now.
I'm well aware that when Brexit came out, I'm no longer here. I was pro-Brexit, so I'm really like forgiving of other people that were pro-Brexit who just didn't understand how complicated it was. I heard independence, and my dumbass American ass was like, "Yeah, I like it. Let's do independence. This is like kind of most Americans default to the position of like more freedom, more independence, etc." And now that I understand just what a like tangled knot they're trying to unweave, it's like there is no good solution to do this well. You can't do it without pissing so many people off that it was better where it was, I think.
No,
you disagree?
I disagree. No, definitely was the best reason, because it was we were definitely better off leaving, because see the amount of laws that were getting passed in the EU that we like had to follow through on. If there was any money that they demanded, we had to pay it, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, but we got some money back," and I'm like, "Yeah, but we were paying like so fucking much in." And all that, and then everyone's like, "Oh, in exchange, you get to use the trade," and it's like, "Well, why can't we just negotiate our own trade contracts?" Like, there's even like weird, stupid limits, because I've been there in the EU Parliament. They have no fucking idea what they are doing. No idea. If there's anything that is to be regulated, they will try to regulate it. Like the day I was in, and this was when we were doing the Article 13. So I'm there in the Strasbourg court, like in the big room where they do the vote. Like I'm essentially in the European Senate. Like I'm sitting in there. They were voting on regulations about how long Polish candle makers were allowed to make the wicks. And I'm Google it. I'm not making that up, right? That is some of the dumb shit. Some of the other stuff as well is, any of this certain type of drink product must only come in 330 milliliter and 500 milliliter cans or bottles. But then there was this weird fucking custom drink in Japan that makes its own bottles that don't fit that. So then the EU had to pass another resolution to this bill to allow this one specific drink from Japan to like be able to be shipped into and sold in the EU. It's so stupid. Like, and that's the type of shit that we have to contend with. And everyone goes, oh, but you get your veto. You get your little fucking veto. But this is the problem, is Europe are massively fucking left-wing. Apart from the eastern parts of Europe, from Eastern Europe, right? Mainland Europe are overwhelmingly left-wing, and they are passing like left-wing laws over right-wing places. So the right-wing places, that's why you're getting Hungary and Budapest and all these other fucking Bulgaria, Romania are all going, fuck this. Like, we are sick of this fucking shit. We want to fucking leave and all. And it's because it's became overwhelmingly left-wing, like in the EU, and that's why it's crumbling, because it's not a balanced system here in both sides of the aisle. It's one side of the aisle going, here's the laws, you're getting them, tough shit. Here's Article 13. This just passed fucking overwhelmingly, where we're going to create essentially a great filter like they have in China to moderate online content. Right?
And even, great filter. Okay.
Yeah. It was basically, that was Article 13. They've changed the name of it now, but like that passed
something
overwhelmingly.
Less scary, I hope.
We're
calling it the doomsday device now.
The same day I was in, they were voting on a resolution about AI weapons, whether or not it would be okay for them to continue research into AI weapons, and it passed. So they're going to,
that won't backfire.
It's incredible. Like
how many movies start.
You sound like the subject matter expert on it, and I'm not. But it's super hard to be an actual subject matter expert on all this shit. You know, all the tangled web that is the EU and the countries in it, and who's going to get mad if you do different. If you pull out, people are going to be really mad. And as you mentioned with that, border, if you stay in, as you articulated, people are going to be really mad. So what do you do?
Well, I think it's a case of it should never have happened in the first place. Like all this.
The EU should have never happened.
It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Like, I think it started initially as just a big trade agreement thing. Trade agreement, whatever, that's fine. But then see, as soon as you have another country able to have some semblance of say of what laws get passed in your country over like a completely different culture. Like this, like people the amount of times that I see, like, I argue with leftists online, like, all the time, and people bitch about, oh, they just drew random borders in Africa and mixed cultures together and caused wars and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's what the EU's doing. They're passing, like, they're culturally different. People in Czechoslovakia have a completely different, fucking not there anymore, Czech Republic, like, have a completely different view on, like, the way society should be than people in England or people in France and all that. But then they're passing laws over these, and it's just causing conflict. Like, that's why I think, Scottish laws for Scottish people, English laws for English people, like that type of stuff, because who's going to know better how to govern themselves than themselves?
Yeah, it makes sense. The more local it gets, the closer it is to the person being impacted.
Exactly.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to be inter-Canadian. We wouldn't want Canada to be able to, create a law that we were supposed to follow. I don't even like the laws that we come up to follow. Like, I don't want to follow some.
No.
You might have lost your audio. Kyle.
I lost you on Mexican laws, but he said he doesn't want to follow Mexican laws.
Your audio is definitely off, Kyle.
You cut out. Maybe